Hello. Welcome back to the next installment of the Narconon and Scientology Chronicles. I'm Lucas Catton. And this one's big. I am 99.99% sure that Narconon Centers and churches of Scientology in the United States have been in violation of the federal Eliminating Kickbacks and Recovery Act of 2018. This law was enacted in October of 2018, and it makes it illegal for people or institutions to either pay or receive commissions or other forms of kickback in kind for referrals to or from substance abuse treatment facilities, laboratories, and recovery homes, sober living homes. So part of this was, what really sparked this law was the rampant fraud that was being committed in South Florida and parts of Southern California as well, where patient brokers, body brokers would get involved in shuffling people here and there because they had great insurance policies, and then they'd give kickbacks here, and then labs would get, pay treatment center owners lots of money so that they could send as much of their UAs, their urinalysis, off to labs, and bill insurance companies for many thousands of dollars for these labs and that kind of thing. So there was a lot of corruption in the field, and they've worked to try and clean that up. And one of the ways that they've done that is through this law, which has now been in effect for over 2 years, and they call it ECRA, or Eliminating Kickbacks and Recovery Act. So what is not known is that one of the pioneers in this industry of doing that is Narconon. Not so much in terms of the lab contracts and big money and that kind of thing, but in the payment of referral commissions for people to go into the program. Now, before then, it was largely frowned upon in many different areas. And there are parts where it's flat out illegal when it's involving Medicare and Medicaid and that kind of stuff. And that's been the case for a long time. But in the private treatment field, it has not been illegal this whole time. Florida started to enact something earlier, I believe, but the federal law, again, not until late October of 2018. This law, Narconon Centers, follow a policy by Hubbard outlining what they call field staff members, or FSMs. I have written about, like in my first book, Have You Told All, I was an FSM for a while after I was a staff member at Narconon. Part of my role as a staff member at Narconon in Oklahoma was to ensure and work with FSMs and to make sure that they referred people in and to make sure they got paid. It was not illegal then. Afterwards, I became an FSM for Narconon, where I would get paid for referring people to Narconon back when I was still a believer of all that a long time ago. And I have atoned for that, and you can read about it if you want to. There's plenty of stuff that talks about that. But so I have intimate knowledge of how this system works. I worked with many different Narconon centers throughout the country, several of whom have now been shut down or closed for various reasons, and ones in Canada as well. But Narconon, this is one of the ways that they got so many referrals. They would have FSMs create websites, and they would get phone calls from people looking for treatment, and then they would say, oh, you need to talk to such and such treatment facility in whatever state, California, Oklahoma, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Louisiana, Colorado, South Texas, Nevada. This is where there used to be Narconon centers in all these places. Again, several of those have shut down, and there's word that others are shutting down as well. But so what would happen is that people would start to get referred to Narconon all the time, and they go, wow, this it must be a good place. This unbiased third party was referring us to this great program. Now, when there were, like, what we used to do is when I would send a referral back then, this is 2008, 2007, 2006, when I was doing most of my Narconon referrals. And then I started branching out and doing something differently in 2009, working with other people who did referrals and consulting for centers for a little bit, and then I stopped all that together completely in 2010, and by 2011 I was out completely. But this is what went on. So we would talk about the centers, and then you'd send them in. You send in the name and number, and then when the person came in and paid the money, then you'd get a check, a 10% commission check on what before was like a $25,000 program for roughly 3 months. Now it's about $32,000 for most of the Narconon centers, sometimes $35,000. So you'd get, $2,500 checks for people who would pay the full amount up front. Sometimes multiple checks in a week for that amount. Some FSMs earned, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 sometimes because of the number of people that they would refer to Narconon centers throughout the country. And refer sometimes is very loosely done. But my point is, other treatment facilities started to catch on because they would call these Narconon FSM websites and go, hey, how can I get on your referral list? And they go, oh, well, you pay us 10% of your commission, or pay us 10% commission, and then sure, we'll send people to you who don't want to go to Narconon. And so other treatment centers started doing this, and it grew, and it grew and grew until a point where it was very rampant. And then lots of people started to figure out different ways that they could get involved in the money involved in treatment. And then things got, not just out of hand, but it was disgusting. It's one thing how it started out where it was deceitful, but then it got into, downright criminal in so many different ways. Well, now even the early deception, and then even if you're totally upfront with someone and say, because of this new law, if you say, hey, I'm going to get a commission if you go here, that's still illegal. It is also illegal to pay what they call Narconon Regis or registrars their salary or their pay based on a commission on the amount of money or number of people they bring in that week. Now, Narconon and Scientology are fanatical about their statistics and records keeping. In fact, they had to create something. There's policy indicating that they have to create something called an FSM account. So it's an entire bank account dedicated to paying FSM commissions. The Scientology churches all do it too. You can open up the policy that Narconons are supposed to follow and look up, and you can read all about FSMs and the FSM policy and how they're supposed to act and how you're supposed to pay the commission. An FSM submits a name, person signs up, makes a payment. The FSM submits a selection slip and is supposed to be paid within 7 days or 24 hours at first, but then it's like by the end of the week or whatever. So Narconons and Churches of Scientology, they keep a statistic on the number of FSM commissions paid that week, on the number that have been paid that week. So this is an integral part of how they work. And I don't believe that they fully understand how illegal this is, even if they've been given legal advice, and even though the rest of the treatment industry certainly understands this now, that it is flat out illegal, you don't do it, you go to jail. It's punishable by a fine of up to $200,000 and or 10 years in prison. So it's a very serious crime, very serious law that they're breaking. Now, I have suspicion. I don't have the exact proof yet. I'm asking for some people out there who may have known about a commission paid or received within the past 2 years from a Narconon center. Now, an interesting part is, even if a Narconon center, there are some that are more savvy and probably don't pay commissions anymore, but they may figure out a different way. Like, hey, you go do an intervention for me, and I will pay you a commission on the quote-unquote intervention on this person. So they're exchanging money for it's a commission, but it's not. Or, hey, we'll do, why don't you take some calls for us and we'll pay you like a percentage of the people that come in based on the calls you take, like these remote Regis kind of thing. And Scientology churches, since most people are aware of what Narconon is now, that Narconon is part of Scientology. So it's really hard for them to hide online like they used to be able to do. And so many of the people who are going to Narconon centers today do so because they are referred by Scientologists, individual Scientologists, and their family members and graduates of Narconon Centers who have done well. Yes, there's some out there that, of course, that have done well. A couple have recently commented on some of these videos here, which is wonderful. I'm happy that they're doing well. And even on the show with Leah Remini and Mike Rinder, we talked about, of course, there's some people who get well at Narconon. We're not saying that's not the case. It is the fraudulent deception of claiming they have qualified treatment staff, of claiming they're not part of Scientology, of claiming they have success rates that they don't. That's the part that we have an issue with. So I know I'm going over a few different things at once here, but if you know someone who, since October 24th of 2018, who has paid or received a commission to or from a Narconon Center for an admission at a Narconon Center, please contact me directly, because multiple state agencies and federal agencies are looking into this as we speak. And I suspect that there's information out there to be able to convict them of this. I'm willing to bet a lot on it. As I said, 99.99% sure that they did not suddenly overnight decide to stop following L. Ron Hubbard policy to pay FSM commissions. And Scientologists demand their FSM commissions. Churches of Scientology, who may refer someone to a Narconon Center, demand their FSM commissions. So if you're digging into the finances of, let's say, Narconon Louisiana or Narconon of Oklahoma or Fresh Start in Southern California or whatever, and you see payments to churches of Scientology, especially in the amounts of $3,000, let's say, they may write on their books that it was for a donation, or that it's for books, or that it's for some other services or something like that. But upon further inspection, you'll find that there's some of those that have been because they referred someone to the center and they go, oh, it's illegal. We can't call it an FSM commission anymore, so we got to call it something else. That is also still illegal and needs to be found out, in addition to their intake counselors, their Regis, their registrars, being paid based on the number of people they bring in and the number of dollars that they bring in each week. Their pay is bonused based on that. That is also illegal. So I'm asking for your help, because as we're gathering evidence with investigators, we need actual evidence to be able to show so that they can do it. And for those Narconon Centers that are out there, it's too late. You can try and cover it up, but as will come out in some future information here shortly, they know when you're covering up things. They've got falsified records already through insurance fraud and things like that. They're going to see, and they're going to bring this information to me and other people who are material witnesses. And we are protected, by the way, as material witnesses. So, keep that in mind. And it's going to be found out. So I'm not tipping my hat to you or tipping you off that this is coming to somehow doctor your records, because it's too late. They're going to find it. The best chance you have right now is to come forward, plead guilty, show how you're not going to do it anymore, and hope that you don't go to jail. I don't know, but knowing Narconons and knowing Scientology, you're going to claim that you've done nothing wrong, or that you didn't know, or whatever, and try to negotiate some kind of non-prosecutorial agreement like Narconon Georgia did when they shut down. But it's coming. Your policy dictates that you have to pay these commissions, and I know that there are some of you out there who have done this since October of 2018, and it will be found out, whether it's the FBI or the attorneys general in your various states or wherever it is. It's coming. Those of you out there who have knowledge, please contact me. Let me share that with the authorities that I'm working with and bring these people to justice, because there have been some actual crimes committed here, federal crimes, and they need to be prosecuted. Till next time, I'm Lucas Gatton. Take care.